remember how we showed you how the breaking points, Rachel and what is her, Crystal and Ryan Grimm from The Intercept, who also is a host on Breaking Points, how they're gaslighting their own viewers now to protect the squad and their access. I saw a tweet. Crystal's she's standing for Katie Porter to be the next senator. She's like, how everybody like? So they're just going straight up. They've picked a side. It's wild to see it happen right in real time. But you remember how we showed you that Ryan Grimm runs interference for you know all this. Well, here he is. He's going to do it again. And here's him and Ro Khanna. And it's like they're having a contest to see who's a bigger phony piece of shit. Ready?
Will you do him to Ryan Grimm again?
We got, so in 2 years, you're gonna have the progressives will have anyway. Here we go.
If Democrats take the House back in 2 years, which seems plausible, it'll probably be by a narrow margin. Is there any thinking going on in the Progressive Caucus now to say, what are we going to demand when that comes around?
Well, I like how he laughs
instead of passing out immediately from that ASMR dull voice of Ryan Grimm.
Ryan, put some more boring in your voice. Anyway, he says, so what the Republicans just did was they used their leverage in the House to extract unbelievable concessions from McCarthy for their vote for him as Speaker, something that Ro Khanna was supposed to do 2 years ago with Nancy Pelosi, and of course he won't, which is why he's laughing.
Also, why isn't Ryan laughing and saying it in a football way? Yeah. They're 3rd and 4th, and it's time to kill you.
So look, she's laughing, he's laughing. Is Ryan laughing? Yeah, they're all laughing because what this is, and Chris Hedges just showed, this is bullshit. This whole thing is bullshit. He comes on this show because he knows this guy is probably a CIA asset at best.
That's the least amount of piece of shit he would be.
That would be the least amount of piece of shit he would be as a CIA asset. But he does work for that rag at The Intercept, which can't tell the truth about Syria or Russiagate or anything. So, and they lie about he lies about workers. He lied about the union crushing by the Democrats over the railroad strike. He lied about that. And then
truckers, don't forget, he tried to hit the truckers.
Truckers, yeah. He hated the truckers in Canada, right? And they turned out they were right. They're actual freedom fighters. He's the guy working for the fascists, Ryan Grimm. So this is on Breaking Points, right? So this is who Breaking Points has become now, right? And so let's watch this clip. He's interviewing Ro Khanna. The progressives go on Breaking Points. They go to Ryan Grimm and The Intercept because they know they're not going to get a tough question and they're not going to be asked to follow up. That's why AOC goes on with this guy on his podcast. Here we go.
If Democrats take the House back in 2 years.
I mean, for fuck's sake, Aaron, when Pramila Jayapal, the head of the Progressive Caucus, after they didn't do force to vote, went on his podcast, she said the reason they didn't do force to vote was because McCarthy could become Speaker, and he let her say it. That's why they go. That's what's happening. And now he works with Crystal and Sagar on Breaking Points because that's the kind of show they've become. And that's why these guys can't wait to show up on their show because they know they'll never have their feet held to the fire. And here we go.
If Democrats take the House back in 2 years, which seems plausible, it'll probably be by a narrow margin. Is there any thinking going on in the Progressive Caucus now to say, what are we going to demand when that comes around?
Hakeem Jeffries.
We're not going to demand anything, but we're going to make comedians in their garage look like they're the problem. They're the ones. And by the way, remember they said they couldn't do forced to vote because it would set the movement back. It would set Medicare. When we would have lost all this progress we've made in the last 2 years on Medicare for all.
You know, our function is to speak power to truth. And
here we go.
Was warned by Kevin McCarthy, right? He said, I had a unanimous vote 2 years ago. Look, I think there are arguments for it. For example, Medicare for all, to get hearings on that, to get a vote on that. But
there are arguments.
Oh, I thought that was a myth that there were any arguments about.
There are arguments.
That doesn't exist.
You know that thing that the majority of Americans, even Republicans, are for? You know that thing?
Oh.
You can make an argument.
Hey, you heard it here first, guys. Ro Khanna says there are UAPs have been acknowledged by the Pentagon, UFOs. They exist. We don't know what they are, and there are arguments,
And
whatever they may be.
And they're for Medicare for
They
all.
may
For
not
instance.
be of this earth. We can't say.
And
But
we
they do
wonder
exist.
why we don't have Medicare for all yet. Is because our staunchest advocates for it in Congress, the best they can say is, yeah, there are arguments.
There's arguments for it.
Arguments,
Yeah.
I guess there's arguments for it.
We don't
yeah.
have it yet because they have great health care in Congress that's not Obamacare.
That's right.
Here's the difference, and I believe the fundamental difference with the Freedom Caucus and the Progressive Caucus. The Freedom Caucus, by their own definition, just wants to blow things up and cut things. I mean, that's why they're in Congress. And I disagree with it. I'm not questioning their motives. They're in Congress because they want to reduce spending, cut government. That's an easier thing to be a no on than saying, okay, we want Medicare for all, which is we have to have legislation, draft it, and just say it's a harder thing to do when you have an affirmative agenda.
Oh, well, don't bother.
So the progressives are never going to be.
I don't want to put you out.
Yeah, don't bother. It's a pain in your ass, I guess.
Yeah.
Try to get
It's easier
Medicare.
to by the way, they're cutting military spending. That's less things blowing up, for the record.
That's right. That is so. That it's this big idea of we're gonna have to come up with legislation and shit. It's hard.
It's easy to just cut funding to the evil things we're doing.
Hey, somebody tell Ro Khanna Nancy Pelosi's been sitting on a Medicare for all bill for about 3 fucking years. Okay, so this idea, we're gonna have to get it. So he's just, and by the way, why is he saying these lies? Because he knows Ryan Grimm, the Breaking Points host, hired by Crystal, will not push back on him. That's why he's saying that stuff very confidently, just like when Pramila Jayapal said that McCarthy could become speaker if they did force the vote, and he didn't push back. It's the same thing, and that's why they're at this show.
Okay, look.
And that's why, I'm going to guess, that's why Crystal hired Ryan Grimm to get access to these politicians after Bernie Sanders cucked Kyle Kalinske, wouldn't even let him on his own show. So now she's got to get an in, and that, I'm guessing, I don't know why.
Well, yeah.
It's mental. Their own crowd sees through it. Their own, if you look at, go look at the comments under Ryan Grimm's last video or Crystal's video. People are ripping them.
Don't you think it's hard enough for Crystal in her DC social circle having a boyfriend with dyed blonde M&M hair? She's going to have to make up for it in some way. With Ryan Grimm's hair.
Jimmy, what Ro Khanna is saying here is a complete straw man.
Complete.
No one's asking the progressives to blow it up, to just tear everything down. As you've been saying, we need concrete proposals such as a vote on Medicare for all or a $15 minimum wage, just something. Use your leverage for something. That's the point. And these Republicans, their demands too, whatever you think of them, are not just about blowing everything up. They have concrete demands, and they won them.
And they won them.
A new committee to investigate the intelligence agencies. They won assignments on committees. They won rules changes. Those are concrete asks. You can disagree with those. And we're not asking progressives to copy what these Freedom Caucus members fought for. We're saying come up with your own demands and use your leverage to achieve them. And that's
But that
what
might
he's
interfere with their
totally
career.
avoiding here.
That would interfere with their book deals and their careers.
There we
Yeah,
go.
you
Yeah.
got to play the long game. The real long game.
The real long game. So let's watch how he ends this.
Up government or
Hang on.
so thing to do when you have an affirmative agenda. So the progressives are never going to be blow up government or let's just hurt government.
So what that means is progressives are never, ever going to use their leverage to fight for anything you want. That's what he means when he says we're not going to blow up government. He means we're not going to risk shutting down the government to get our demands met. We're not going to do it. So what does that mean? We're not going to get our demands met. So, by the way, they don't have any demands.
And I'd like to add, we have no demands.
And they have no demands.
Jimmy, it's worse than that. Not only will they not risk shutting down government, they're not going to risk not being invited to a party.
That's
or
right.
not being invited
Yeah.
to appear with Nancy Pelosi on the cover of Rolling Stone.
That's right.
That's
if I
what they're
wanna
not willing to
dance?
give up.
I want to dance with Colbert in the street with Chuck Schumer and Stephen Colbert.
So there it is. And Ryan Grimm does not ask. So the question that I would have asked had I been sitting there, a pothead comedian, I would have said, hey, we see what the Republicans just did. Why didn't you do that 2 years ago when there was that forced to vote thing? That's what you should have did. And then the next question should have been, so you say you think you might do it in 2 years? What's different in 2 years that was different from 2 years ago? Why will you do it in 2 years, but you wouldn't do it 2 years ago? Those would be two follow-up questions you should ask. Ryan Grimm will never ask those questions because he's CIA Ryan.
And what makes the Freedom Caucus different than progressives? Like, why is it that they can hold their vote to get demands that they want, and progressives can't. And what is the case for withholding your vote? How does that bring you any closer to the policies that you claim you support? Like, what are you getting out of not challenging Hakeem Jeffries or Nancy Pelosi? What are you actually receiving? Because there has to be some case they could try to make for what it is that they gain, that the progressives gain by not challenging Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries. What is it? Make the case, but they don't.
And
because
how
they're not
do you
asked.
sit there and act like Hakeem Jeffries' ABCD EFG speech was amazing? I couldn't even do that much of it. Like, there's no amount of money. Did you see his?
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Oh, well, don't watch it.
Although I did see we dropped a video on it. So there you go. There's the squad already telling you they're never going to fight for you, but keep donating to those people.
It's a lifestyle.
Keep donating to them. That's what Crystal is going to tell you. She's already telling you that over at Breaking Point. She's telling people she's excited about Katie Porter. Katie Porter, another person who lied about activists, wouldn't do what she campaigned on, and would never stand up to power ever. So that's what you have over at Breaking Points. They're still doing it. After that video I dropped calling them out for being snake oil salesmen, she went on and did more snake oil salesman stuff. She went on and then said that the Republicans didn't get anything for withholding their vote. She said it was nothing. And then
why are we talking about it?
And every comment under her video, because I have that kind of time, was calling them out for it. So what are they getting? They know they're pissing off their own audience, just like TYT did over Forced to Vote, but it was worth it for TYT because of donor money, and they got that phone call. So maybe the Breaking Point's got a phone call, and that's why they're doing all this.
I'm frying Grimm's there, dude. So that guy's such a turd of somebody's
That's
puppet.
right. I know.
Whatever happened a while ago.
Okay. Maybe it did. Maybe
They've been there for a while, Ryan Grimm and
everybody, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles in January and February in Los Angeles. And then we're going to Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets and become a premium member while you're there.